Hello viewer, welcome to today's episode of Women's View. I'm your host Anne Morimi. It's always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you so much for all the comments and the questions you've been sending to us via our YouTube channel. Remember, the channel is GBS TV Kenya. We also have a lot of you listening to us on Facebook. The handle is GBS Kenya. Once in a while we get messages from SMS messages. Remember, the number to use is 21144. So we are very happy, and whenever you send us questions, we always respond. So please keep it coming, and you can also comment. Today's topic is very interesting. We're here to shed a lot of light and a lot of information about the hearing impaired. Welcome and enjoy the show. So in studio, I have two ladies, and I want to give them this opportunity to introduce themselves. I'll start with the lady on my right. Welcome.
Hello, my name is Irene Mokuria. I work as a coordinator of an NGO that supports children with heart diseases. And I have a daughter who is 7 years old, and she's hearing impaired. She was diagnosed at the age of 1 year, 6 months. It took me a long time to completely accept and look for early intervention. It has been a long journey. She's now implanted, and the journey has not been easy, but we walk a step at a time.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Irene, for coming to share with us your story.
Thank you.
I also want to give the lady in red an opportunity to introduce herself. Welcome.
Hello viewer, I'm back again. My name is Jackie Njero, a financial advisor and a mother to a 8-year-old who is hearing impaired.
Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming. It's actually not very common to get people willing to come and share their personal stories. But when you share your personal story, you're able to really connect. People are able to connect with you. And so I just want to applaud you so much for taking that step of faith and of courage. So I think I'll start with Irene. You told us a little bit about your daughter, who is now 7. You said that she was diagnosed when she was almost 2 years, 1 year, 9 months. Okay, tell us a little bit about the journey before she was diagnosed. What is it? What were the signs that made you realize that something is, there's a challenge in hearing?
My daughter could not babble any word at the age of 1 year, 6 months, and I just went for a normal checkup at Gertrude's.
Yes.
And the pediatrician who saw her that day told me it's not normal for a child this age not to be babbling either mama, baba.
Yes.
So she told me, you need to go and see an audiologist. I was so scared.
Yes.
And it took me like 4 months. She sent me the referral note. I just kept it, and I said,
You kept it at home?
yeah, there are
Yes.
kids who speak even at the age of 4 years, so
Yes.
let this one wait. So it was there waiting for 4 months, and at some point I thought maybe this pediatrician was right.
Yes.
So I called up the hospital, booked an appointment, and I had just decided, let me face my worst fears.
Yes.
So the audiologist did a Bera test, and after that I was called.
I know you're assuming we know what a Bera test is.
It's a test that detects the level of hearing loss. So when the results came out, my daughter could hear at 90 decibels, and that on both ears, and that meant she needed the quickest intervention possible, because the audiologist tried to explain to me that early intervention should take place before the baby is 3 years old.
Okay, and so when you say 90 decibels, that you basically that is low.
Yes.
What is the normal range for hearing?
I may not be very exact, but around 50, 60, it might be a normal hearing range. There is a speech banana. So at 90, that means that girl could only hear the sounds of aeroplanes or maybe heavy machines that are moving.
Okay.
So a normal speech, like the way we are talking with you,
She
cannot
detect.
pick up anything. Yes.
Okay. And I'm so happy that you actually are talking about the fact that it took you 4 months to be able to have the courage to actually visit the audiologist, because you say that you know sometimes you need time to actually face your fears.
Yes.
Yeah. So during those 4 months, we'll come back to you so that you can tell us about the process, because accepting something is usually very important. So over to you, Jackie. You've told us about Maxwell, who right now is You said he's 8 years old.
He's 8 years old.
He's 8
and
years
in grade
old.
1.
In grade 1.
Yes.
For him, he was diagnosed a little bit later.
Late. He was close to 4 years actually.
Okay.
Yes.
And all this time, you'd been going to your clinic.
No more clinics. I cleared the purple book records that needed to be. The checklist was done.
Yes.
Fully done, and no one seemed to notice about it.
Did you wonder why he was taking long to speak?
Maxwell and delayed milestones, like I mentioned earlier.
Yes.
So I expected even the speech to
be
come
delayed
maybe later in life. What I didn't know was whether he was hearing or not. I didn't know that he had hearing loss at any one time. Yes.
So Irene, tell us the basically people, what's the link between hearing and talking? Because you see, when your child doesn't talk, does it always mean they can't hear? Or could there be other challenges?
In most cases, you find before a child talks, they have to have heard somebody saying something. They try to repeat that, and with time, they're able maybe to even say the word by their own. So it's not necessarily that if you're not talking, you're not hearing, but there are doctors out there who may be able now to determine whether your speech is delayed because of lack of hearing or other causes.
Yes.
So like for my daughter, when the audiologist was trying to push me to go for this test, she was telling me it's not a must that her delayed speech is out of hearing loss. It may be some other causes, like she has a heavy tongue. So she would push me to just try and do this test for us to know at the earliest time possible what was causing the delay in speech.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's a very good information, because basically we're telling the families out there, if your child is not speaking by, let's say, 1, maybe not fully speaking, but just even babbling, trying to repeat, it should be a reason for concern. Because if Jackie, you talked about early intervention.
Yes.
And then that means that people have to just be courageous enough to take that step, to overcome that fear. Yes.
They need to take up that step. Like over the weekend, I went to visit a friend who delivered a baby girl in one of the major hospitals.
Yes.
By good luck, I met the pediatrician.
Yes.
So I started engaging her, like, how do you know whether this baby is hearing or not? She said, we can really not tell. So I asked her, do you ever do any tests? Do you ever do any screening before the kid leaves the hospital?
Yes.
She said no. Then I asked her, what kind of tests do you do to this baby? At what point is the parent supposed to find out whether the baby is hearing or not? Then she said she'll be sent maybe after a month during her clinics to one of the local clinics to go and do the screening. But I told her, now this is what we are pushing for. We need early screening as part of the delivery process.
Exactly.
Once you're checking everything about the baby, can the hearing also be checked?
Yes.
To avoid so many of these cases, because there are so many.
And I think it is possible to check the hearing capacity even at birth. I think there are tests that can be done. I know that, like in Australia, they are there. So maybe it's something about just getting the right equipment, and that's why we are here to create awareness. Because you see, when you're talking to a pediatrician and she's also looks like shocked as to why you're asking her that, it means she's not exposed. Maybe even the
she's
training.
Not exposed, but first of all, I want to explain to her, I come this as a parent who has a hearing impaired child.
Exactly.
I'm concerned about the other kids who are being born.
Yes.
They need to be screened as early as possible, And we exchange contacts, and there's a way now I'll start engaging that hospital and see what can be done about it. We need the right policies put in place to help the future generation.
Exactly, that's very true. So tell us again, Irene, about your journey, because now you managed to overcome the fear. You were able to visit the audiologist. It was confirmed that she indeed had she was hearing impaired. What is the journey that has happened since then and now? Because your girl is already in school, which is awesome. You yourself look at ease. You're able to talk about it freely. I imagine that there's a time you talk about it and all you do is probably just cry, not even be able to express yourself. So there's a lot of healing that has happened also on your part. What has been the journey in brief?
After the audiologist confirmed that my daughter had severe to profound hearing loss on both ears, we took time, me and my husband, took time to really think on the options that we were given. So this audiologist first sent me to a counselor.
Yes.
who sat down with me and tried to make me see it's not the end of the world.
Yes.
So at some point that brought comfort,
Okay.
but now we had to embrace the reality
Yes.
and get a way out of it. So
Okay.
we were told you can opt to do sign language,
Yes.
but I walked in the city looking for schools that could take up 1 year old. Then I was told, no, for such you have to wait till your daughter is 4 years. And that time she can be placed in a school where she can learn sign language.
Okay.
Then I was like, this will be too much time for us to waste.
Too much time.
Kids
long
her
term.
age, maybe by the time they are 3.5, they're already in school.
Yes.
So we were given the second option, which was to do a cochlear implant, but
Yeah.
our audiologist recommended first let's try out a hearing aid.
Okay.
So
An
we
external
shopped-
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
we shopped for the first hearing aid, which still for us it was a huge expense because the cheapest we were getting by then it was going for 80,000.
Wow,
And
and you
within
need
a span
to-
of like 2 months, we were told you need to raise this money and come get your daughter fixed with a hearing aid. So my daughter was on hearing aid for a period of 1 year.
Okay.
And she started off speech therapy immediately. But after 1 year of waiting, she couldn't say a word again. She
Okay.
was just there. At times, I would be so disappointed. I would come from work, I knock the door, I enter the house. She cannot even know somebody has walked
entered,
in
yes.
until the time I'll just go and tap her. She would get so frightened.
Yeah, because
she
you've all of a
left-
sudden appeared.
Yeah, she would get so frightened. And now such episodes kept pushing me that you have to look for a solution.
Yes.
1 year down the line, there was no speech. The audiologist told us you have to accept the reality, look for money. But then she quoted a range of 3.4 million.
What?
Get her implanted on 1 year.
Wow,
Now, the
that's a
shocking news
huge
was
amount.
raising
Yeah.
3.4 million. By then, Mercy was almost 2 years. Within a span of 1 year, raising the 3.4 million, it was such a huge amount. We thought
Yes.
of all options, like getting a Harambe, calling friends, but still we would not hit the target. By the time Mercy was 2 years and 8 months, we had lost all hope. We were still far from getting to the 3.4 million. A friend of mine, and I thank God that I'm in a field where I interact with doctors.
Exactly, because you told
and
us you work in an
medics.
NGO.
Yeah,
Yes.
I work with an NGO that supports children with heart diseases. So one of the doctors from India told me, in India, it would be less by maybe like $600 or $1,000. So let
Okay.
me connect you to somebody who would give you a quotation. And that is how I ended up being linked with a doctor in Fortis Hospital.
Okay.
So the quotation came way down to approximately 2.5 million.
Still quite high.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but at least there was some hope
At
that
least
the amount is not that
you've
much.
chopped off 1 million.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
So-
And basically, just for the viewer to understand, there's a difference between the implant, the one that you're going for, which is implanted, it's inside. Tell us the difference between the maybe sometimes I want to call him Mama
Jackie.
Maxwell
Yeah, call me Mama Maxwell.
because of Maxwell and the way he's been
It's
such
okay,
a
I keep on
success.
saying, if you
You
came
know,
to my
Jackie.
estate, you ask for Jackie, no one will show you Jackie. But if you ask for Mama Maxwell,
Yes.
everyone will bring you to my house.
Mama Maxwell, tell us what is the difference between what she's talked about, the hearing aid and
Yes.
the implant.
The hearing aid is just external. First, the cost implication. It's only around 100,000 per
Okay.
piece.
Yes.
Yeah. It only amplifies the external noise.
Yes.
And it is for the moderate hearing loss.
Okay.
If your child is severe and profound, this would only be noise to him or her. It will not help the kid.
Okay.
But now when it comes to the cochlear implant, it's an electrode inserted at the skull of the hand.
Okay.
So it's internal.
So it involves surgery of
It
this.
involves surgery.
Yes.
We want to be like, it takes a whole month for it to heal and to be switched on. It's a major surgery.
It's major,
actually.
yeah, for sure,
I think
yeah.
that is why it's so expensive.
Yeah, because
Right
it's
now-
very sensitive.
It's very sensitive because if they can tamper with the facial nerve or the brain nerve, which is near there, then it will be a different story
Okay.
altogether.
Okay.
So it's a very sensitive surgery to the kid,
Yes.
yet so important. Because when now I learned about the dangers of all this, even after I got away of going to India for the surgery, Now I kept quiet and asked God, now do I do this? Then people are instilling fear in me all of a sudden.
If anything goes wrong, you
know,
might feel responsible as the parent or as the
do
mom
I
or
do
dad.
this? But then you look at the opportunity cost, you
Yes.
know? It's either you make this move or you'll be there for the rest of his life.
Yes.
So I told God, this is my project with you. I have to do this for him.
Yes, that's true.
Yes, so it was done.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for both of you, it was a success.
It was
Yes.
very successful.
Yes. Wow.
It was very successful.
Tell us a bit about how would your daughter react with the external hearing aid? Was there any difference at all?
Once the cochlear implant was switched on, that happened 23 days after the surgery. It's not switched on immediately. After surgery, there's time for her to heal, the scar heals. And then on the switch on date, I was expecting a miracle that she would start
Immediately.
Yeah, but to my shock, it
Yes.
took me 6 months, still on speech therapy, but still she didn't have any word.
Yes.
So the therapist would insist it doesn't come in as a magic. You have to
Yes.
work hard on it. You have to buy materials. You, as the parent, you're the best therapist.
That's
You are the
true.
person with this girl the whole day.
Yes.
So it took Mercy 6 months for her to call me mom.
Wow.
That was
Do you remember the day?
yes.
Of course.
She called me mom, and every time I would walk this journey, I would tell God, the day this girl will call me mom, it would be the happiest day of my life. And I wouldn't want just to stay. I would want just to reach out to other people and share the information that I've picked along the way.
Yes.
So yeah, it happened after 6 months. And there, slowly by slowly, she started adding vocabulary. At some point now, she would do simple sentences. And today she's a chatterbox. She speaks a lot.
She's a chatterbox. As in, sometimes you always want her to, but I'm sure you don't tell her to keep quiet because you're like, oh, you were quiet for so long.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
keep talking.
Yes.
But it's so amazing, Jackie, the
Yeah.
things we take for granted.
Yes.
You know, for the two of you, when you actually remember the day
Yes.
that your son, your child called you
Yes.
mom.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience for
That
you.
experience, mine was different because Maxwell took the longest time. I think he called me mom after 1 year.
You
The thing
really
that he said
waited.
faster was papa.
Ah.
I'm like,
I'm the one who's been
Really?
working so. I know, really, but still it was a joy.
what I said, it doesn't matter whom he calls
It's okay.
or what he says.
Yes.
All I want for him is to speak.
Exactly.
You know?
Yes.
But the most amazing bit was when it was switched on, because he had now clearly for the first time.
Yes.
He really cried about it.
Because it was
It is the
something
first time
totally
he's
foreign.
hearing.
Yes.
Yes, he cried until it was pulled off first for him to
get used
To get
to the
used to
silence
it.
that he was used
yes.
to.
But after that day, he became very excited about it.
Yes.
Just like Irene was saying, every time I got home, I'll knock the door. Him is busy on TV. The TV was his best friend.
Yes,
at
because you
that
could
time.
add the volume. At least you could hear and maybe
His
see.
was actually the only thing he was ever hearing was loud blasts, like
blasts, okay.
loud volume. If it's in my car, he couldn't put the full volume. I didn't know. That was the only thing he was hearing, and I didn't know.
Yes.
You know.
Okay.
But we thank God for this far.
Exactly. We really thank God for both of them. They are they're in school, right? Which school? Your children are in the same school.
Yeah.
They're in the same school.
Uh-huh.
That is Jabari Kindergarten.
Yes.
Yeah, the owner of the school. She was also supposed to be part of us, but now she's busy. She had a meeting.
Yes.
She could not make it. Yeah, it's
And
an
we-
integrated school.
Yes.
We have the other normal children,
yes.
but now our kids are like 15 of them in
Yes.
the same school.
And you know what? That creates an awareness even amongst children.
Yes.
Because I can imagine that when the implants are put, maybe your children tried to pull them off. Maybe even when they went, what was your experience when they went to schools with other children? Did the children try to pull them off? Were they accepted to those schools?
When my daughter started off in her first school, the acceptance still from the teachers was not there. They were afraid to handle this gadget. By then she was on a hearing aid. So they would say at some point, if the mold does not connect so well with the ear, it brings out a whistling sound. So anytime that sound would come up, I would get a call, come pick your child. We don't know how to handle this. So at some point, she stopped school completely.
Yes.
Until now, I got
Actually,
connected to
will,
Jabali.
it ends up your child is being discriminated against because it's like she'll be isolated.
Yes.
Nobody wants to deal with her unless they spoil the gadget.
Yeah.
So you pulled her off.
I had to pull her off for a period of like 4 months. She was off school.
Yes.
And by God's grace, I happened to meet Jackie, the founder of Jabali Elementary. But by then now, my daughter joined the KG section.
Okay.
Because she was only 2 years and some months.
Yes. Jackie, you also had a challenge when it came to schooling.
Yes. Like I said, I had taken my son to school when he was 2 years because now I thought he's not speaking because there's no one to talk to him in the house apart from the house help. So I took him to a kindergarten. It was even a Montessori then. For 1 year, nothing.
Yes.
So when we relocated from where we used to live, moved to another place, so I changed him the school again to a different school again. Still, they could not. Now there was even a bigger problem because they could not handle him.
Because now he had the hearing aid.
He had the hearing aid, they could not accept it. All they could say was that Maxwell does not even settle in class.
Yes.
He stays outside. They were not able to manage him completely.
All,
so at the end
because of lack
all,
of knowledge.
Yes, I don't blame them. Lack of knowledge. So they told me, now you need to get another school for your kid because he's not getting any help here. Just from January, get him another school.
Okay.
So sadly, we had to part ways, and now get for him another school.
And is that at the point that you went to Jabali?
No, I didn't go to Jabali immediately.
Okay.
In my quest for a school, now I started looking for special schools.
Yes.
I started moving I kept on asking my friends, do you know of any special school? When I went to those special schools, oh my goodness, I think God had to let me go through that phase so that I may appreciate my child.
Yes.
Because kids have problems. They have multiple problems.
Yes.
Every special school I went, I thought my son was far way better.
So you actually got encouraged now.
I got encouraged. I realized my son has no problem.
Yes.
So from there, I went to another institution also, where they referred me to a deaf school. You remember I mentioned about it?
Yes.
I told them, no, my son has to hear, my son has to speak. You don't know my son. My son has so much potential.
Exactly.
I cannot. I'm a believer of across mouth is across destiny. If we take these kids to the deaf school, what are we doing? We are shutting them up.
Exactly. There's a lot of exposure that they won't be limited to.
Yes.
And Jackie, I want us to really go, because you see, the journey that you've gone through, is that what caused you to start the foundation, Hands and
Yes.
Voices?
Now we have this foundation, Hands and Voices. I'm the treasurer. She's the assistant secretary.
Yes.
And my colleagues here, other positions. So because of my journey was very painful.
Yes.
And very depressing.
Yes.
So we are saying if we can give some hope to some parents, make the journey less painful for these parents.
Yes.
The very least, by showing them the way.
Exactly.
There's a time I was in total darkness. There was no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
I was so broken. I didn't know whom to go to. We are telling them we are there to go to people.
Exactly.
Yes, just come. We'll hold your hand. We might not be able to do any financial
donation
support.
because it is very expensive.
It is very expensive. This process is very expensive and very rigorous. Like you've heard the cost of a cochlear implant, the surgery now.
Imagine.
It's around 3 million.
Yes.
1 year like this. And now that's the processor that they put on as accessories. By the way,
And
I've come to learn that now this kind of a disability, it's not for the poor. If you are poor, your child will remain deaf.
Yeah, for sure.
It will remain deaf. Not necessarily poor. Like you have to interact and try to get ways getting ways to help this child. Because if you don't talk to people, not like I spend money myself because I didn't have that kind of money.
Yes.
But I networked. I looked for solutions until I got there.
Exactly.
Until
and
I got there.
That's why Hands and Voices Kenya is such, an amazing association, because all the challenges that you went through, Irene, you're now able to package it and give the information to somebody, because yes, there's a challenge of finances, but there's also the challenge of accepting. There's a challenge of knowing even what to do.
Yes.
You might even have the money, but you don't know anything.
Exactly.
You've refused to accept, you're depressed. So what are some of the things that, how many members do you have right now in Hands and Voices Kenya? Do you join as a member?
Yeah, we are like 40 parents
Okay.
right now. but the officials are like 4
Okay.
officials. We started the organization last year.
And already you're 40.
We are already 40.
So that means that there are
and
very
we're
many
still
people in
recruiting
need.
others. We have a major group of like 150.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, 150 parents. Apparently, ever since we started this journey, we keep on getting calls from all over.
Yes.
Of kids of parents who have kids with hearing impairment.
Yeah. So you've actually become their eyes, their light.
We have become their eyes.
Yes.
Some of them we are not able to help because a hearing aid is 100,000.
Yeah, it's very expensive.
So
Guess what, ladies? We need to take a break. Already time is not on our side.
Yeah.
So viewer, please keep it here. We'll be right back shortly. Thank you.
There is a card that makes paying for almost everything easy like ABCs. No need to make trips to the ATMs to withdraw money or carry cash around. That's the Equity Bank Visa card, accepted everywhere you see the Visa sign. Use it to pay for food and drinks, fuel, shopping, pay for your Uber ride, shop online, travel and hotel bookings, and so much more. Pay conveniently and free of charge. Card security is guaranteed thanks to the chip and PIN technology that protects your card from fraud. Start paying with your Equity Bank Visa card now and enjoy the convenience of not carrying cash.
Hi, my name is Zawadi. At Mahanaim, I studied to qualify for the IGCSE through the Cambridge International Educational Program.
We Mahanaim International High School students enjoy extracurricular activities such as joining GBS TV Club, Taekwondo, cultural dance, orchestra, swimming, foreign languages, community service, and much more. I believe this unique experience I gained here will go a long way into strengthening the future me.
The teachers and other ministers at Mahanaim spared no pain in running with us until the end of the mile, until we secured all of our goals. And that's how I passed my IGCSE exams.
Mahanaim International High School cares about my future. Beyond our education, Mahanaim nurtures us to have bright and healthy mind so that we could become great future leaders.
There is a card that makes paying for almost everything easy like ABCs. No need to make trips to the ATMs to withdraw money or carry cash around. That's the Equity Bank Visa card, accepted everywhere you see the Visa sign. Use it to pay for food and drinks, fuel, shopping, pay for your Uber ride, shop online, travel and hotel bookings, and so much more. Pay conveniently and free of charge. Card security is guaranteed thanks to the chip and PIN technology that protects your card from fraud. Start paying with your Equity Bank Visa card now and enjoy the convenience of not carrying cash.
Now it's time for speaking. Everyone, are you ready?
Mtu alikuwa anauma. Si niliwaambia.
Oh Mr. Sun, Sun, Mr. Golden Sun, please shine down on me.
Kwaheri.
Everywhere, GBS.
Hi, my name is Zawadi. At Mahanaim, I studied qualifier for the IGCSE through the Cambridge International Educational Program.
We Mahanaim International High School students enjoy extracurricular activities such as joining GBS TV Club, Taekwondo, cultural dance, orchestra, swimming, foreign languages, community service, and much more. I believe this unique experience I gained here will go a long way into strengthening the future me.
The teachers and other ministers at Mahanaim spared no pain in running with us until the end of the mile, until we secured all of our goals. And that's how I passed my IGCSE exams.
Mahanaim International High School cares about my future. Beyond our education, Mahanaim nurtures us to have bright and healthy mind so that we could become great future leaders.
Healing, hope, restoration. Amazing stories of real people like you who have triumphed over tragedy. Watch Turning Point International and be inspired to reach your turning point.
It really ministers to the soul of man, and as a pastor, you benefit a lot because people learn and they learn how to cope with issues probably you don't even deal with in your sermons.
It's not reality TV, it's real life TV.
By two other guests, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to introduce themselves. I'll start with the lady on my extreme right. Karibu.
Hello viewers, my name is Lynette Otibine. I'm the Secretary for Hands and Voices Kenya. My son is 6 years and with hearing loss. He uses his bilateral on cochlear implants, and we thank God for the journey that we took.
Welcome, Lynette.
Thank you.
Karibu sana, introduce yourself.
Hello viewers, my name is Dr. Wanjera Njuguna, and I'm a mother to 14-year-old who is hearing impaired and has been using 2 hearing aids. She is bilaterally impaired.
Okay. Are you also with Hands and Voices?
Yes, I'm also with Hands and Voices. I'm actually the vice chair, an organization we have started to pull a group together to speak for our children.
Excellent. I'm so amazed. And you know, you're all women. You know, no wonder they say educate a woman and you change the society. Because here you are, all of you are talking about having children who have hearing impairment, but all your children are well now in terms of they're talking, but you're remembering that there's so many who are behind you. You're remembering your journey. Like Lynette, you're telling us what happened to your son, how you got to know.
Yes. So for us, unfortunately, we went into hospital one day. My son had crazy fevers. We were hospitalized. And then when we got out of hospital, almost 1.5 months later, I just noticed my son was not okay. The gut feeling of a mother.
Yes.
And then I think 2 or so weeks later, I went to hospital to take my older son for checkup, and randomly I asked the doctor, I feel my son is behaving weird. What could be the problem? So I was told to go to some specialist.
And you know what? I wanted to talk about those little weird things, because sometimes those little weird things are the things people tend to ignore. What are some of the things you noticed?
The reactions to sound. So there are a few things that we used to do together.
Yes.
For example, if you're blending things in the house, he'll come running to help you. If
the
you're
noise.
using a microwave, obviously he'll want to help with the process.
Yes.
And even the very faint sound of feeding the instant power.
Yeah, the tokens.
Yes, exactly. So all that went away. Sometimes I'll come home, he's the only one in the house, possibly watching TV, you'll knock, you won't hear a thing. And before then, he used to come running and jump and hug you and all that. Mommy is home, all the excitement, all that went quiet. The world changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And at least you were able to pick it and ask for help.
Yes.
Okay.
Only that I had never interacted with hearing loss. So somehow for me, I think it was a shock on every step all the way.
Yeah, because he was actually, he could hear before. So you went to the audiologist?
Initially, we went to an ENT doctor. We were referred to an ENT doctor. I didn't know. Then after that, we were sent to an audiologist who did tests. And yes, we were told he was severe to profoundly deaf on both sides. And I couldn't understand what that was. But anyway, yeah, you had to deal. Actually, for me, I almost crashed with the children. I was going home, because I had carried all of them for us to have
you were driving.
I didn't know what we were going to face out there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. Wanjira, you've been on this journey for a much longer time, because you said your daughter is 14 years.
Yes.
Do you remember how it was when you received the news?
Actually, I'll tell you that I went through depression for a whole week. But I thank God. My husband stood up and told me, you know what? We have to get out of this.
Yes.
This is our child, and God does not give you a baggage or a challenge that you can never be able to handle.
Yes.
We are able to deal with it. That is where we started our recovery journey. That is when we started asking ourselves, so what next?
Exactly.
But I think for us, much of it was the challenge that you keep on going to see your doctor and nobody is noticing anything.
I know, yes.
You raise a question, and one of the sessions I was given by the doctor, I was told, you know what, your child has very good eye contact. This child will speak. It is only a delayed speech. So just give her time. She can even speak at 5 years. She is okay.
No. A doctor told you that she can speak at 5 years?
At 2 years and 6 months, I moved her to school. Because the other issue was the environment where we were staying. We did not have a lot of children. So the interaction, the socialization was actually limited. But within one term, having taken her to school, she could only speak 2 words. Baba, Mama, and it stopped there. And I was like, okay, something is wrong.
Yes.
Went back to the pediatrician. No, this girl is okay. And I decided this time around, let me go and see a speech therapist.
So for you started the other way around, with
the
the intervention.
The other way around, because now I need to actually
move.
become a little bit keen. But after 2 sessions, the speech therapist told me, let us test the hearing of this child. Please note, I knew nothing about hearing. But if we had been keen, and I like a parent like me is actually talking about those little things that we know. Looking back, I could remember that every time that we left the radio on, my daughter would add volume, step on the table, and start dancing.
On top to hear?
Yes.
It's like her ear has to be next to the
volume, and then now she could be able to hear.
Yes.
And every time you came to reduce the volume, she would actually lose interest. And maybe just also one thing also to note is that it's also dependent on the sounds. Because she could, every time the father came and spoke loud, she would hear and she would turn.
Yes.
But every time we talked,
she would not hear.
Remember the levels of the sound. The male sound is more deep
Exactly.
than a soft-spoken voice,
Yes.
like a female.
Mm.
And so if we had been able to, if we had an experience, being that she's a firstborn,
Yes.
then it became another challenge because we had no experience in terms of how to check the hearing of children.
Yes,
And
that's
maybe
true.
these are the things that we need to share as parents so that we can be able to note these things very early. We
Yes.
don't take actions when it is very late.
Yes, because you need to intervene early.
Mhm.
And you know, Lynette, for you, I mean, it was a shock. You talk about almost having an accident on your way back home.
Yeah.
But here you are, you've been able to go through the journey.
Yeah.
Tell us about what are the options. You know, when you're told that your child has hearing impairment, does that mean that they must get an implant?
No.
What are the various? Tell us about the range of options that are available.
Yeah, I think just to assure parents out there, it's not the end of the world to be diagnosed that you have hearing loss. And there are various categories. There's the mild that goes up to 30 decibels, 0 to 30. And then there's the moderate, which picks up from about 30, I think, to around 40. And then there's the severe, which is from around 50 maybe to 70, and then profound. So there are various interventions in between. If you're really mild, there's no cause for worry. Of course, it's just taking care of your hearing, making sure you're doing the right things, not to expose yourself, because there are various things out there that can cause you hearing loss.
Like
and
what,
if
for example?
For example, exposing yourself to very loud sounds, like these booming
you know,
matatus,
and also
you may not know.
Earphones.
Yeah, and earphones.
Because it's
Yeah.
becoming so normal.
Yeah.
And you see, if you're in a matatu which has music, and then you want to wear earphones in that
Exactly.
matatu, the amount of volume on your earphones has to be extremely high.
Yeah, and
That could
compounded
damage-
with the matatu music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when you get to moderate, there are hearing aids as well that you can use. And actually, speaking of hearing aids, there's a big spectrum. So the cost will depend on the level. So the very high, the powerful amplification, obviously, the price will slightly go up because you really need power for it to send the right signals to your hearing path.
Yes.
So these hearing aids will range anything from 80 to almost $500,000 plus.
Generally, it is an impairment that is quite costly, like actually all impairments.
Yes. And then when you get to profound, just as Mama Wamboi, there's an option of hearing aids, but of course with this you really need to work closely with the child and make sure you have the right therapy and you're holding the child's hand. And remember, with all these hearing aids, amplification is very important, and that's why you need to keep going for programming, just making sure that, because there are different pitches, and I think you'll hear that we do these, what you call link sounds, that will tell you the various pitches, the A, E, O, M, Sh. So it will tell you what level is the child hearing. So if they can't respond to it, you'll know, oh, something needs to be
Increase the
tweaked
volume,
here.
change the
Yes.
tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wow,
So
it's quite
even
a
for
science.
us, yes, exactly. So even for us, we started with the hearing aids, and we observed Ivan's journey along the way, and we, at some point, we had to just take the call and seek another solution. Only that, I think what I want to emphasize, all these solutions are a possibility for communication. There's sign language.
There's also the option of sign language. For
Exactly.
example, if it's profound and you're not able to at
do
profound level, can you use the implant? Or that means
at profound level. And also, I think also, just to take us back, there's the structure of the ear. So sometimes you'll find maybe even the cochlea did not form. Possibly it had a malformation. So even the cochlear implant is not like a guarantee
solution.
Yes, exactly. So there are various factors, and also your bone structure. Sorry, I think having gone through this journey, there's a lot of reading I needed to do to be sure of the
that you're bringing.
Yes,
that's why Hands
exactly.
and Voices is going to make a difference to the life of that parent who has just gotten that information and they're overwhelmed and depressed at the same time. They can come to you because look at all the information you have. like this is your area. You know, I'm almost
Life fosters too.
Are you in the hearing impairment profession? It has forced you.
Just to let parents know, even if you go to an audiologist, it's always important to ask, where is the problem of the ear?
Yeah.
Is it the middle ear?
Yeah.
Is it the eardrum? Is it the
The
cochlea?
inner, yeah.
Like my daughter suffers from the nerve.
Yeah.
So, and as a result of that, you need to be very careful, because the understanding of that is also what guides you in terms of the solutions that you can actually seek.
Yes.
Remember also, the solutions are also determined by two aspects. What mode of communication are you going to pick?
Okay.
If you decide for sign language, then that does not necessarily need a gadget.
Exactly.
But if you are a parent who opts for what we call auditory verbal, then the cochlea and the hearing aids comes in. Now, when we talk about auditory verbal, we are saying this is a child who has not been hearing. You need to teach him or her to listen.
Yes.
And now, after they listen, train them how to speak.
Yes.
But if you opt for the sign language, 100%, then you don't necessarily need this gadget.
You don't.
But at Hearts and Voices, it is important to note, we accommodate whatever choice you pick. That is what the best for you and your child.
And I hear that there's something happening on 28th of September. Lynette, please tell us about that day.
We've actually planned, we've put together an advocacy day, which will be happening on the 28th of September.
Yes.
I think just to note, September is a hearing loss and deaf awareness month. So just luckily, also coincidentally, it's fitting around the same space. So we want to go out there and just, we invite everyone to come and share with us so that you get to hear what hearing loss is all about, the different types of hearing loss, what kind of interventions are out there that you can get to consider, just in case. Remember, we're all candidates for special needs.
Yes, we all
You never
are.
know what happens in life, really.
You never
have
know.
to
I
be
mean,
prepared.
it can happen to that you could hear, then an accident happens, and then you come.
You never know.
And where will be the venue?
We will be at Jabali Elementary School. It's actually opposite State House Primary School. The tickets is 1,000 shillings for adults, and the children will have free entry. We have lots of activities prepared for the children, but I think the bottom line is just to make sure that we get to provide the information out there. And we welcome all of our viewers out there to come and share with us. We'll have testimonials from parents, testimonials from the children. Come and see what the children are able to do.
I know, I'd
now.
love to hear testimonial. Like your daughter now can actually communicate Daktari, you know.
She can actually speak.
And about her experience.
Actually, sometimes I have to tell her, slow down, you're speaking too much. So you can imagine as a parent who has walked the journey, what it feels like.
Yes.
That you can now slow them down.
Excellent. Thank you so much, ladies. Time is not on our side, but thank you so much for coming to create awareness. And remember that Hands and Voices is on social media. They are on Facebook. Please go to their page and be able to get more information about the Advocacy Day for the deaf and hard of hearing. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.